Have you ever seen those daredevils walking on slack lines, suspended high above the ground? At first glance, it might seem like a simple task, just put one foot in front of the other, right? But as you watch, you realize the incredible focus, strength, and precision required to maintain balance on that thin cable. One misstep, and they could fall to either side. It's a perfect metaphor for life itself. We're all walking a tightrope, trying to balance the various demands and responsibilities that come our way. And perhaps one of the most challenging balancing acts of all is learning how to help others without losing ourselves in the process. In our fast-paced, interconnected world, the call to help others is louder than ever. We're bombarded with requests for our time, energy, and resources. As compassionate human beings, we want to answer that call. We want to make a difference in the lives of those around us, whether it's our family members, friends, colleagues, or even strangers in need. But here's the thing, if we're not careful, our well-intentioned efforts to help others can lead us down a path of self-neglect and burnout. We can become so focused on pouring out for others that we forget to refill our own cups. And when that happens, not only do we suffer, but the quality of our help diminishes as well. This is where the wisdom of Buddhist teachings comes into play. Buddhism offers profound insights into the human condition and provides practical guidance for living a balanced, compassionate, and fulfilling life. One of the key teachings is the importance of taking care of ourselves so that we can be effective in taking care of others. It's a concept that might seem counterintuitive at first glance. After all, isn't selflessness a virtue? Shouldn't we be willing to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good? But Buddhism recognizes that sustainable compassion requires a foundation of inner well-being. If we don't attend to our own needs, we risk becoming depleted, resentful, and unable to offer the genuine help that others truly need. Consider the metaphor of the empty jar. Imagine you have a jar with no water in it. How can you pour water into other cups to quench their thirst? You can't. In the same way, if we're emotionally, mentally, and spiritually empty, we have nothing to give to others. We might go through the motions of helping, but our efforts will lack substance and authenticity. The Buddha understood this truth and emphasized the importance of filling our own jar before attempting to fill the jars of others. But finding this balance isn't always easy. It requires self-awareness, intentionality, and a commitment to both self-care and altruism. It means learning to recognize when we're giving too much of ourselves and when we need to step back and recharge. It means setting healthy boundaries and understanding that saying no to some requests isn't selfish but necessary for our well-being and, paradoxically, for our ability to say yes more meaningfully in the long run. In the following teachings, we'll explore how to cultivate this delicate balance. We'll look at practical ways to nourish ourselves while remaining open and available to help others. We'll examine the Buddhist concept of the middle way, which encourages us to avoid extremes and find a harmonious path through life's challenges. And we'll discover how becoming more balanced in our approach to helping others can lead to greater fulfillment, joy, and effectiveness in our relationships and our efforts to make the world a better place. So, as we embark on this journey of understanding how to help others without losing ourselves, let's keep the image of the slackline walker in mind. May we find the strength and wisdom to walk our own path with grace, balance, and compassion for ourselves and for all beings. 1. The danger of self-neglect. Why prioritizing others at the expense of yourself leads to suffering. Let's begin our journey into understanding the Buddhist teachings on balance and helping others by delving into a fundamental truth. Neglecting our own well-being in the name of helping others is a path fraught with danger. It's a noble instinct to want to help, to reach out and ease the burdens of those around us. But when this instinct becomes an obsession, when we lose sight of our own needs in the process, we enter a cycle of suffering, a cycle that ultimately harms not only ourselves, but also those we strive to help. Imagine the metaphor of the empty jar once more. This jar represents our inner reservoir of energy, compassion, and well-being. When we pour from it endlessly without refilling, it eventually runs dry. And what happens when the jar is empty? We can no longer pour. Our ability to help becomes hollow, our actions strained and ineffective. The Buddha recognized this profound truth, that an empty vessel cannot nourish others, and thus emphasized the importance of self-care as a foundation for compassionate action. But why exactly is self-neglect so dangerous? Let's explore the various ways it manifests in our lives and the suffering it brings. The cycle of burnout. When we prioritize others above all else, we often fall into a cycle of burnout. We take on more responsibilities than we can handle, we say yes to every request for help, and we push ourselves beyond our physical, emotional, and mental limits. At first, this might feel fulfilling. We feel needed, useful, and connected to others through our acts of service. But over time, the toll becomes evident. Burnout sneaks up on us. It starts with mild exhaustion, perhaps a sense of fatigue that doesn't go away with a good night's sleep. Then comes irritability. We find ourselves snapping at loved ones, feeling impatient with those we're trying to help. Our once boundless energy is now limited, and we struggle to keep up with even basic tasks. As the cycle progresses, we might experience feelings of hopelessness, cynicism, and a loss of passion for the very things that once motivated us to help others. This isn't just a personal issue. When we're burned out, the quality of our help suffers. We become less patient, less creative in finding solutions, and less present in our interactions. We might even start to resent those we're helping, creating a toxic dynamic that undermines our relationships. The loss of identity. Another insidious danger of self-neglect is the gradual loss of our sense of self. When we constantly focus on meeting the needs of others, we risk forgetting who we are outside of our role as helpers. Our identity becomes tied to our actions for others. I'm a good parent because I sacrifice everything for my children. I'm a valuable friend because I'm always there to listen and help. And we lose touch with our own desires, dreams, and aspirations. This loss of identity can lead to a profound sense of emptiness. We might find ourselves asking, who am I if not through my relationships and my acts of service? We might feel like we're living someone else's life, always putting others first and never taking the time to nurture our own interests and passions. Over time, this can result in depression, anxiety, and a feeling of being trapped in a life that no longer feels authentically ours. The impact on relationships. Our relationships also suffer when we neglect ourselves. While our initial intention is to help and support others, our self-sacrifice can create an imbalance in our connections. Those we're helping may begin to feel guilty for contributing to our burnout, or they might take our help for granted, assuming it's an endless resource. In some cases, they might even start to resent us for being too available, feeling burdened by the responsibility of managing our well-being along with their own. Moreover, when we lose ourselves in helping others, we might become overly dependent on their approval and gratitude. We might find our self-worth tied to their satisfaction with our help, leading to a fragile sense of identity that's easily shattered by criticism or rejection. This dependency can create codependent relationships where both parties are unhappy and unfulfilled. The Buddha sips perspective. The Buddha addressed these dangers directly in his teachings. He recognized that extreme self-sacrifice, while well-intentioned, leads to suffering. In the simile of the mother cow, he illustrated the importance of balance. Just as a mother cow must both graze to nourish herself and produce milk to feed her calf, we must balance self-care with caring for others. Neglecting either side of this equation leads to suffering for ourselves and for those we aim to help. The Buddha also taught about the middle way, a path that avoids the extremes of selfishness and self-neglect. By following this middle way, we cultivate a balanced approach to life that honors both our own needs and the needs of others. This isn't about being selfish, it's about recognizing that our well-being is intrinsically linked to our ability to help others effectively. Real-world examples. Let's look at some real-world examples to illustrate these teachings. Consider the case of a parent who dedicates every moment to their children's happiness and success. They wake up early to prepare breakfast, help with homework after school, chauffeur their kids to countless extracurricular activities, and stay up late to ensure everything is ready for the next day. They sacrifice their own interests, hobbies, and even basic self-care routines. At first, this might seem like the epitome of love and dedication, but over time, the parent becomes exhausted. They have no time to recharge, no space to pursue their own passions. Resentment begins to build, not just toward their children for the demands they place on their time, but also toward themselves for not setting boundaries. The quality of their parenting suffers, they become short-tempered, less engaged, and less able to provide the emotional support their children truly need. Another example is the healthcare worker who dedicates their life to caring for patients. They work long hours, skip breaks to attend to one more patient, and bring work home with them mentally and emotionally. They might feel pride in their dedication, but eventually, the constant stress and lack of self-care take a toll. They experience burnout, compassion fatigue, and a decline in the quality of care they're able to provide. Both the healthcare worker and their patients suffer as a result. The ripple effect of neglect. When we neglect ourselves, the effects don't stop with our personal well-being. They ripple outward, impacting everyone around us. Our partners may feel the strain as we become distant or irritable. Our friends might sense our depletion and hesitate to approach us for support, creating distance in relationships. Our colleagues could observe a decline in our work performance, affecting team dynamics and productivity. And those we're trying to help directly, the very people we aim to support, might receive less effective, less compassionate assistance, ultimately hindering their growth and well-being. Furthermore, our self-neglect sets a precedent for others. It teaches them that it's acceptable, even expected, to sacrifice oneself for the sake of others. This can perpetuate a cycle of burnout and imbalance within our communities as others follow our example and neglect their own needs in turn. The psychological research. Modern psychology supports the Buddha's teachings on this matter. Studies on burnout and compassion fatigue demonstrate that helping professionals who neglect self-care experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and physical health problems. The concept of emotional labor, the management of feelings to meet the demands of a job or role, further illustrates the toll of constant self-sacrifice. Research also highlights the importance of self-compassion. When we treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we extend to others, we build resilience and emotional well-being. This, in turn, enhances our capacity to help others in a sustainable way. Psychologists like Kristen Neff have shown that self-compassion isn't selfish. It's a foundation for effective compassion toward others. The path forward. Understanding the dangers of self-neglect is the first step toward change. But how do we actually begin to shift our patterns and cultivate balance? The journey starts with awareness, recognizing the signs of burnout, acknowledging our own needs, and accepting that self-care isn't selfish but necessary. It's important to note that this path isn't about abandoning our desire to help others. Instead, it's about transforming how we approach helping. By prioritizing our well-being, we become more resilient, more present, and more effective in our efforts to assist others. We transition from a place of depletion to a place of abundance, where our help flows naturally and sustainably. In the following sections of this teaching, we'll explore practical strategies for cultivating this balance. We'll learn how to set healthy boundaries, practice self-compassion, and integrate me time into our daily lives. We'll discover how to say no without guilt, and how to recognize when we're giving from a place of abundance versus depletion. Through these practices, we can walk the middle way, a path where helping others and caring for ourselves harmoniously coexist. But for now, let's reflect deeply on the dangers of self-neglect. Let's acknowledge the burnout, the loss of identity, and the strained relationships that can arise when we lose ourselves in helping others. By facing these challenges honestly, we create space for transformation. We open the door to a new way of being, one where our compassion for others is rooted in compassion for ourselves. Remember the slackline walker. Their grace and balance don't come from ignoring one side for the other, but from attending to both sides with equal care. In the same way, our journey toward effective, sustainable helping begins with a commitment to balance, to nurturing our own well-being as diligently as we nurture the well-being of others. As we move forward in this exploration of Buddhist teachings, may we carry with us the wisdom that true compassion starts with ourselves. May we learn to fill our own jars so that we can pour from them with generosity, grace, and genuine presence. And may we walk our path with awareness, knowing that our well-being is not separate from but intrinsically connected to the well-being of all beings. 2. Cultivating self-compassion, the foundation for compassionate action. In the previous section, we explored the dangers of self-neglect and how prioritizing others at the expense of ourselves leads to suffering. Now let's turn our attention to the antidote, cultivating self-compassion. This isn't merely a feel-good concept. It's a fundamental Buddhist practice that serves as the bedrock for genuine, sustainable compassion toward others. Without self-compassion, our efforts to help others are like buildings constructed on sand, easily eroded by the tides of exhaustion and resentment. With it, we establish a foundation that allows our compassion to flourish, benefiting both ourselves and those we aim to serve. What is self-compassion? At its core, self-compassion is treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and understanding we would offer to a close friend. It's acknowledging our suffering and responding to it with warmth rather than judgment. In Buddhist terms, it's recognizing our inherent worthiness of happiness and freedom from suffering, just as all beings are worthy of these gifts. Self-compassion isn't self-pity. It doesn't involve wallowing in our problems or using our suffering as an identity. Nor is it self-indulgence, where we use self-care as an excuse to avoid growth or responsibility. True self-compassion is clear-eyed and balanced. It acknowledges our flaws and mistakes while embracing ourselves with kindness, recognizing that imperfection is part of the shared human experience. Research in psychology supports the transformative power of self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion research, identifies 3 key components. 1. Self-kindness versus self-judgment, speaking to ourselves with compassion rather than criticism. 2. Common humanity versus isolation, recognizing that suffering is a universal experience rather than something that sets us apart. 3. Mindfulness versus over-identification, being present with our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. These components mirror Buddhist teachings, which emphasize non-judgmental awareness, connection to all beings, and balanced emotional engagement. The Buddhist roots of self-compassion. Buddhism has long recognized the importance of self-compassion as a foundation for helping others. Several key teachings and concepts highlight this connection. Loving kindness, metta, begins with yourself. The metta meditation, a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, begins with directing loving kindness toward oneself. The reasoning is simple. If we can't generate genuine goodwill toward ourselves, it's difficult to extend it consistently to others. The traditional progression of metta practice moves from oneself to loved ones, neutral individuals, difficult people, and ultimately, all beings. This sequence recognizes that self-compassion is the starting point for boundless compassion. The classic metta phrases, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," May I be safe. May I live with ease, are first directed inward. When we genuinely wish these blessings for ourselves, we develop the capacity to extend them to others without resentment or depletion. 2. The perfection of wisdom prajnaparamita. Buddhist wisdom teachings remind us of the emptiness of inherent self-existence. When we realize that the self and other are not fundamentally separate, self-compassion becomes a natural expression of this understanding. Suffering that arises in ourselves is part of the same continuum as the suffering of others. Caring for ourselves isn't selfish when we recognize our interconnectedness. The Prajnaparamita text emphasizes that wisdom and compassion are interdependent. Wisdom without compassion is cold and isolating. Compassion without wisdom is unsustainable and often codependent. Self-compassion bridges this gap, allowing wisdom and compassion to function in harmony. 3. The Buddhist's teachings on self-care. The Buddha offered practical advice on self-care that directly supports self-compassion. In the Majjhima Nikaya, he stated, "You yourselves must strive. The Buddhas are only teachers." This guidance reminds us of our responsibility to care for our own well-being as part of our spiritual journey. He also taught the importance of balance in all things, including our approach to self-care. Just as we shouldn't neglect our practice of helping others, we shouldn't neglect our own needs. The middle way applies here, neither indulging in excessive self-focus nor denying ourselves the care we require. How self-compassion enhances our ability to help others. When we cultivate self-compassion, several transformative shifts occur that enhance our capacity to help others effectively. Increased resilience. Self-compassion builds emotional resilience. When we're kind to ourselves during difficult times, we recover more quickly from setbacks. This resilience means we can face the challenges of helping others without becoming overwhelmed or discouraged. We're better equipped to handle the inevitable disappointments and failures that arise in any helping relationship. For example, a teacher who practices self-compassion is more likely to bounce back after a challenging day in the classroom. They can return the next day with renewed energy and patience, ready to support their students effectively. 2. More sustainable compassion. Without self-compassion, our capacity for helping others is limited by our finite emotional resources. We risk compassion fatigue, a state of emotional exhaustion and reduced empathy. Self-compassion acts as a renewable resource, allowing us to continuously refill our emotional reservoirs. Consider healthcare professionals, who are at high risk for compassion fatigue. Those who practice self-compassion through mindfulness, adequate rest, and setting boundaries are better able to maintain their empathy and effectiveness over long careers. 3. Authentic connection. When we extend compassion to ourselves, we develop a deeper understanding of suffering. This understanding creates authenticity in our connections with others. We're less likely to approach helping from a place of superiority or obligation, and more likely to connect with others through shared humanity. A counselor who practices self-compassion can sit with a client's pain without needing to fix it immediately. They can acknowledge the client's suffering with genuine empathy because they've learned to acknowledge their own. Setting healthy boundaries. Self-compassion helps us recognize when we need to set boundaries in our helping relationships. Rather than viewing boundaries as selfish, we understand them as necessary protections that allow us to help more effectively in the long run. For instance, a volunteer at a shelter who practices self-compassion knows when to take a break from their work to recharge. They recognize that by honoring their limits, they can return to their service with renewed energy and compassion. Practical methods for cultivating self-compassion. Understanding the importance of self-compassion is just the beginning. The real transformation comes through consistent practice. Here are several methods rooted in Buddhist teachings that can help cultivate self-compassion. Metta meditation practice. Begin your metta practice by sitting comfortably and bringing to mind your own well-being. Silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease." If self-critical thoughts arise, acknowledge them without judgment and gently redirect your focus to the metta phrases. Spend several minutes directing these wishes toward yourself before gradually expanding to include others. 2. Mindful self-dialogue. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself, especially during difficult moments. Notice any harsh or critical language. When you catch yourself in self-judgment, pause and respond as you would to a friend. For example, if you make a mistake at work and think, "I'm such an idiot," reframe it to, "I made a mistake, and that's okay. I can learn from this." 3. The self-compassion break. When facing a moment of suffering, try this simple exercise adapted from Kristen Neffsip's work. 1. Acknowledge your pain. This is a moment of suffering. 2. Recognize your common humanity. Suffering is part of life. 3. Offer yourself kindness. May I be kind to myself in this moment? 4. Mindfulness of breathing. The simple practice of mindful breathing can cultivate self-compassion by creating space between ourselves and our reactive thoughts. When you notice stress or self-criticism arising, bring your attention to your breath. Observe each inhalation and exhalation without judgment. This practice helps establish a foundation of present moment awareness that supports self-compassion. 5. Journaling for self-understanding. Take time each day to journal about your experiences, particularly noting moments when you felt self-critical or disconnected from yourself. Explore these moments with curiosity rather than judgment. Ask yourself, what triggered this feeling? What did I need in this moment? How could I respond to myself with compassion? 6. The RAIN technique. Developed by Buddhist teacher Tara Brach, RAIN is a powerful method for working with difficult emotions. 1. Recognize what's happening in the present moment. 2. Allow the experience to exist without resistance. 3. Investigate the experience with gentle curiosity. 4. Nurture yourself with kindness and care. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed by work demands, recognize the overwhelm, allow it to be present, investigate its physical and emotional sensations, and then nurture yourself by taking a break or practicing a few minutes of deep breathing. Overcoming obstacles to self-compassion. Despite its benefits, cultivating self-compassion isn't always easy. Several common obstacles can arise. 1. Fear of selfishness. Many of us worry that practicing self-compassion makes us selfish. We've been conditioned to believe that self-sacrifice is virtuous and that taking care of ourselves is somehow indulgent. Buddhist teachings challenge this notion by showing that self-compassion isn't about elevating ourselves above others, but about recognizing our shared humanity. When we care for ourselves, we're better equipped to care for others. 2. Cultural and familial conditioning. Our upbringing and cultural context often shape our relationship with self-compassion. Some cultures emphasize collectivism and duty to others above individual well-being, making self-compassion feel foreign or even wrong. Acknowledging this conditioning is the first step toward gently releasing it and embracing a healthier balance. Misunderstanding Buddhist teachings. A common misconception is that Buddhism advocates for self-neglect as a path to enlightenment. Some interpret teachings on detachment as a call to disconnect from all personal desires and needs. However, a deeper understanding reveals that Buddhism advocates for non-attachment, not neglect. Non-attachment allows us to care for ourselves without clinging to outcomes or defining our worth through our roles. 4. The not good enough trap. For many, self-compassion feels challenging because of deeply ingrained beliefs that we're not good enough. These beliefs can stem from past experiences, trauma, or societal pressures. Buddhist teachings on self-compassion invite us to question these beliefs with gentle curiosity rather than accepting them as truth. The relationship between self-compassion and the middle way. The middle way, a central Buddhist teaching, provides a framework for understanding self-compassion. It advocates for avoiding extremes, neither indulging in excessive self-focus nor denying our basic human needs. Self-compassion embodies this middle way by balancing care for ourselves with care for others. When we practice self-compassion, we avoid the extreme of self-neglect while also steering clear of self-indulgence. We acknowledge our needs without becoming consumed by them. We recognize our capacity to help others while honoring our limitations. This balanced approach allows us to move through life with greater ease and effectiveness. Self-compassion in action. Real-world applications. To truly understand the transformative power of self-compassion, let's explore how it manifests in everyday situations. 1. Parenting with self-compassion. Parents face constant demands on their time and energy. A parent practicing self-compassion acknowledges the challenges of parenting without harsh self-judgment. They take time to rest when needed, seek support from their community, and forgive themselves for inevitable missteps. This approach allows them to be more present and patient with their children. 2. Self-compassion in relationships. In romantic relationships, self-compassion helps us set healthy boundaries while remaining open to connection. When conflict arises, we can acknowledge our own emotions and needs without compromising our values or well-being. This balance fosters healthier, more sustainable relationships. 3. Workplace self-compassion. In professional settings, self-compassion enables us to navigate stress and setbacks with greater resilience. When facing criticism or failure, we respond with understanding rather than self-flagellation. This mindset promotes continuous growth and prevents burnout. 4. Community service and self-compassion. For those engaged in community service or social justice work, self-compassion prevents compassion fatigue. By regularly checking in with their own well-being and honoring their limitations, activists can sustain their efforts over the long term without burning out. The ripple effect of self-compassion. The benefits of self-compassion. Don't stop with ourselves. When we cultivate this practice, it creates a ripple effect that touches everyone around us. For our children, they learn healthy relationship patterns and self-care behaviors from our example. For our partners, our balanced approach to giving and receiving care fosters mutual respect and understanding. For our communities, as more individuals practice self-compassion, the entire community becomes more resilient and compassionate. For those we help, our assistance becomes more effective, patient, and sustainable, deepening our practice. Advanced methods. As our understanding of self-compassion grows, we can explore more advanced methods to deepen our practice. Erste Tonglen meditation. Tonglen, a Tibetan Buddhist practice, involves breathing in the suffering of others and breathing out peace and happiness. While this might seem counterintuitive to self-compassion, it actually reinforces the understanding of our interconnectedness. By first establishing a strong foundation of self-compassion, we can engage in Tonglen without becoming overwhelmed. 2. Self-compassion in difficult relationships. Advanced practice involves extending self-compassion to ourselves in the context of challenging relationships. When someone treats us poorly, we can acknowledge our pain and respond with kindness toward ourselves rather than reacting with anger or self-doubt. 3. Integrating self-compassion with wisdom. Mature self-compassion incorporates wisdom, recognizing when self-care requires decisive action, such as leaving a toxic situation or establishing firmer boundaries. This integration of compassion and wisdom mirrors the Buddhist ideal of balanced practice. The path forward. Cultivating self-compassion is a lifelong journey rather than a destination. It requires patience, practice, and a willingness to confront our deeply held beliefs about self-worth and helping others. As we continue to develop this practice, we transform not only our own relationship with suffering, but also our capacity to alleviate the suffering of others. In the next section of this teaching, we'll explore practical strategies for integrating self-compassion into our daily lives. We'll learn how to establish daily rituals that nourish our well-being, set boundaries that honor our needs without disconnecting from others, and transform our relationship with helping through balanced perspectives. These practices will further solidify the foundation we've begun to build through understanding and cultivating self-compassion. For now, reflect on your own journey towards self-compassion. Notice the moments when self-judgment arises and how you respond. Acknowledge the steps you've already taken, no matter how small they may seem. Remember that each act of kindness toward yourself strengthens your ability to help others effectively and sustainably. By walking this path of self-compassion, you're not only caring for yourself, you're creating the conditions for genuine transformative compassion in the world. 3. Practical strategies for integration. Making self-compassion and balance a daily reality. Now that we've explored the transformative power of self-compassion and its critical role in enabling us to help others without losing ourselves, it's time to get practical. Understanding these teachings is just the beginning. The real magic happens when we translate them into daily actions that become second nature. Imagine waking up each day feeling grounded, ready to face the world with a heart full of compassion for yourself and others. This isn't a distant dream. It's within reach when we intentionally design our lives to support this balance. Let's dive into how you can make self-compassion and balanced helping not just ideals, but lived experiences. The power of daily rituals. Our days are like rivers, flowing with routines that shape our experience. By adding small, intentional rituals, we can transform these routines into stepping stones toward balance. Start your morning by setting a compassionate intention. It could be as simple as whispering to yourself, "Today I will honor my needs and uplift others with equal care." This tiny act sets a gentle compass for your day. Then, as the evening rolls in, take a few moments to reflect. Ask yourself, when did I dance that delicate balance today? Where did I stumble? What can I learn? This isn't about self-criticism, it's about growth. It's like tending to a garden, noticing what's thriving and what needs more attention. And let's talk about me time, not as a luxury, but as a non-negotiable pillar of your well-being. Picture it as a sacred appointment with yourself. Maybe it's 5 minutes of deep breathing in the morning, a nature walk on weekends, or an evening where you lose yourself in a creative hobby. Communicate this to your loved ones. Let them know that this time isn't selfish, it's what allows you to show up fully for them. Imagine how your relationships could transform if everyone prioritized this kind of care. Transforming your relationship with helping others is a beautiful thing, but it's easy to get caught in the trap of quantity over quality. Shift your focus to the depth of your help, not just how much you're giving. Ask yourself, is my help truly meeting their needs, or am I projecting what I think they should want? Be present in each interaction. Put down your mental to-do list and truly listen. Your help becomes a gift that empowers rather than drains. Boundaries, such a misunderstood concept. They're not walls, they're gentle fences that guide healthy connections. Start by identifying your limits. Where do you tend to overextend? Then practice communicating them with grace. Try saying, "I'd love to help, but I need to finish this task first." And remember, boundaries aren't set in stone. Life changes, and so can they. It's like adjusting the sails on a boat as the wind shifts. Integrating mindfulness into helping activities. Mindfulness is like a superpower that turns ordinary moments into opportunities for connection. When you're listening to someone, Give them the gift of your full attention. Put aside distractions, suspend judgment, and let them speak. Your response will be richer, more thoughtful. Even routine tasks can become mindfulness practices. Washing dishes, feel the water's warmth, the soap's slipperiness. Cooking, notice the vibrant colors of ingredients, the sizzle of the pan. These moments add up, creating a day filled with presence. Leveraging community support. No one was ever meant to walk this path alone. A supportive community, or sangha, can be your North Star. Look for local Buddhist centers, join online communities, or gather friends to form your own group. Share your struggles and triumphs. Have accountability partners who check in on your self-care, engage in group service projects. There's something magical about serving others alongside people who get it. It's like planting seeds together, watching compassion grow in the soil of shared effort. Overcoming resistance to these practices, change can feel scary, even when it's good for us. Guilt often creeps in, whispering that self-care is selfish. But remember the oxygen mask principle. You can't help others if you're gasping for air yourself. Quality help comes from a place of strength, not martyrdom. And by modeling balance, you're teaching others, especially the next generation, how to thrive. Time constraints, we've all been there. The day feels like a runaway train. But what if you wove self-care into your existing routine? Breathe mindfully during your commute. Reflect on gratitude while you eat dinner. Swap some screen time for a quick meditation. Start small. 1 minute of calm can grow into a lifetime of peace. Cultural or familial pressures. They can feel like heavy blankets, suffocating your efforts. Start with tiny, almost invisible changes. Educate your community gently, showing them how balance benefits everyone. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Measuring progress and staying motivated. How do you know if you're growing? Journaling is like holding a mirror up to your journey. Write about the strategies you tried, the insights you gained, the steps forward and backward. Ask trusted friends how they see your growth. Sometimes others notice changes before we do, and celebrate your milestones. Did you master a new practice? Navigate a tough situation with grace? Reward yourself. These celebrations are breadcrumbs marking your path forward. Conclusion: walking the path of integration. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about progress, about learning to walk that slack line of life with increasing confidence. Some days you'll wobble, teeter on the edge. Other days you'll glide with ease. Each small step you take, each mindful breath, each boundary set with love, builds a more sustainable, fulfilling way of helping others. Imagine a world where everyone practiced this balance. Compassion would flow like rivers, deep and strong, nourishing all beings. You're not just creating a better life for yourself, you're weaving a more compassionate world. So today, choose one strategy. Take that first step and watch how your life begins to transform, one balanced moment at a time. 4. Expanding compassion, from the personal to the collective. Having cultivated self-compassion and established practices that support balance in our individual lives, we now turn our attention outward. The journey of Buddhist practice doesn't stop at personal transformation. It invites us to expand our circle of care, integrating our balanced compassion into our relationships and communities. This expansion isn't merely about doing more, it's about transforming how we engage with the world. When we extend our compassion beyond ourselves, we discover that our actions can ripple outward, creating waves of positive change that touch countless lives. In this section, we'll explore how to take the balanced compassion we've nurtured within ourselves and allow it to flourish in our interactions with others, creating a more harmonious and supportive collective. The natural progression of compassion. Buddhist teachings recognize that compassion has a natural tendency to expand. Once we've established a foundation of self-compassion, the next logical step is to extend that compassion to those around us. This progression isn't forced, it's organic. When we truly understand our interconnectedness, that our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others, our compassion naturally radiates outward. This expansion isn't about sacrificing ourselves or diluting our practice. It's about allowing our balanced compassion to grow, becoming a force for good in the world. Compassion in relationships, the intimate frontier. Our closest relationships with family, partners, and friends provide the perfect laboratory for practicing expanded compassion. These relationships are where our actions have the most immediate and profound impact. They're also where our imbalances and triggers are most visible, making them ideal for growth. Navigating difficult dynamics. Every relationship has its challenges. Conflicts arise, misunderstandings happen, and emotions run high. When we approach these moments with balanced compassion, something transformative occurs. Imagine a disagreement with your partner. Instead of reacting from a place of defensiveness or irritation, you pause. You take a deep breath and acknowledge your own emotions without judgment. Then, you turn your attention to your partner, truly listening to their perspective. You respond not from a desire to win the argument, but from a place of understanding and care. This approach doesn't mean suppressing your needs. It means expressing them in a way that honors both yourself and your partner. Releasing expectations. Relationships often become strained when we cling to expectations. We expect our loved ones to behave in certain ways, to meet our needs without fail, to always understand us. When these expectations aren't met, which they inevitably aren't, disappointment and resentment follow. Practicing balanced compassion in relationships means releasing these rigid expectations. It means accepting others as they are, with all their flaws and imperfections. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. It means addressing issues with kindness and clarity rather than criticism and control. The gift of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a powerful expression of compassion in relationships. It's not about excusing hurtful actions, it's about freeing ourselves from the weight of resentment and anger. When we forgive, we create space for healing and growth. This doesn't happen overnight. It requires acknowledging the pain we've experienced, understanding its causes, and choosing to let go. Balanced compassion guides us through this process, ensuring that forgiveness is extended with wisdom and boundaries intact. Compassion in community. The wider circle. Beyond our intimate relationships, our communities offer vast opportunities for practicing expanded compassion. Whether it's our local neighborhood, workplace, place of worship, or online community, these settings allow us to touch many lives at once. Building supportive community structures. A compassionate community doesn't just happen, it's intentionally built. This might involve creating spaces for open dialogue, organizing mutual support initiatives, or developing community programs that address shared needs. For example, a community garden that brings neighbors together, a mentorship program that connects experienced professionals with newcomers, or a listening circle where community members can share their struggles and triumphs. These structures foster connection and care, transforming isolated individuals into a supportive network. They embody the Buddhist principle of interdependence, recognizing that we thrive together, engaging in collective service. When we serve our communities with balanced compassion, our actions become more impactful and sustainable. This might look like volunteering at a local shelter, participating in environmental cleanup efforts, or advocating for social justice causes. The key difference is in how we approach this service. We're not driven by a need to save others or prove our worth. We're motivated by a genuine desire to contribute to the common good. We recognize that our service is just one part of a larger effort and that true change requires collaboration. Addressing conflict with compassion. Conflict is inevitable in any community, but it doesn't have to be destructive. When approached with balanced compassion, conflict can become an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. This involves active listening, seeking to understand the underlying needs and concerns of all parties involved. It means expressing our own perspectives with honesty and respect, and it requires a willingness to find solutions that honor the well-being of the entire community rather than prioritizing one group's interests over another's. Compassion in society. The ripple effect. Our expanded compassion doesn't stop at the community level. It extends outward into society as a whole, influencing broader systems and structures. While individual actions might seem small, collectively, they can create significant change, advocating for systemic change. When we practice balanced compassion, we develop the clarity and resilience to engage with societal issues effectively. This might involve advocating for policies that promote equity and justice, supporting organizations that address systemic inequalities, or using our voices to raise awareness about important causes. We approach this work not from a place of anger or frustration, though these emotions may be present, but from a place of compassion for all affected by these systems. This balanced approach makes our advocacy more sustainable and our message more compelling. Cultivating a culture of compassion. Every act of compassion, no matter how small, contributes to a culture shift. When we model balanced compassion in our daily lives, whether through kindness to a stranger, fairness in our business practices, or empathy in our online interactions, we inspire others to do the same. This cultural shift isn't about imposing a set of rules or beliefs on others. It's about demonstrating through our actions that compassion is both possible and powerful. It's about creating a world where people recognize their interconnectedness and act from a place of care and understanding. The feedback loop of compassion. Expanded compassion is instead a one-way street. As we extend compassion to others and our communities, we often find that it circles back to nourish us in return. This creates a beautiful feedback loop, gratitude and fulfillment. Helping others and contributing to community well-being fosters feelings of purpose and gratitude. Learning and growth. Engaging with diverse perspectives expands our understanding and deepens our practice. Reinforced self-compassion. The kindness we extend to others reminds us to extend the same kindness to ourselves. This loop sustains our practice, making compassion a continuously growing force in our lives. Conclusion. The unlimited heart. Expanding compassion from the personal to the collective is the natural unfolding of Buddhist practice. It's about recognizing that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of all beings and acting in ways that honor this truth. By integrating balanced compassion into our relationships and communities, we don't just improve individual lives, we begin to heal the broader fabric of society. Imagine a world where this practice became widespread, where every interaction was infused with understanding, every community structured to support mutual well-being, and every individual recognized their power to create positive change. This isn't a utopian dream, it's a vision that begins with each of us in our daily choices and actions. In the final section of this teaching, we'll explore how to sustain this expanded compassion over a lifetime. We'll discover how to navigate the inevitable challenges, deepen our practice through ongoing learning, and become steadier sources of compassion for ourselves and others. This is the journey of a lifetime, a journey toward an unlimited heart. 5. Sustaining compassion, a lifelong journey of practice and growth. The journey of compassion is not a sprint, but a lifelong marathon. It requires ongoing practice, adaptation, and growth. As we expand our compassion outward, we must also commit to sustaining it over time. This involves deepening our understanding, refining our practices, and embracing the reality that compassion is a dynamic, evolving force in our lives. In this section, we will explore how to nurture compassion as a lifelong practice, ensuring that it remains vibrant and resilient throughout all stages of life. The lifelong nature of compassion practice. Compassion is not a destination but a continuous journey. It evolves with us as we grow, face new challenges, and encounter diverse experiences. Just as a tree grows stronger and more expansive with each passing year, our compassion can deepen and broaden over time. Embracing impermanence. Buddhist teachings remind us that all things are impermanent, including our practice of compassion. What works for us today may shift tomorrow. By embracing this impermanence, we remain open to adjusting our approach. We don't cling to rigid methods, but instead adapt our practice to meet our changing needs and circumstances. The cumulative effect of small practices, daily rituals and habits may seem minor in isolation, but over time, they accumulate into profound transformation. Each act of self-compassion, each mindful interaction, and each moment of balanced helping adds to the reservoir of compassion within us. Even on days when you feel you've made little progress, trust that these small practices are quietly shaping your heart and mind, deepening your understanding through ongoing learning. A lifelong commitment to compassion requires a willingness to continually deepen your understanding. This involves studying Buddhist teachings, exploring related philosophies, and learning from the lived experiences of others. Engaging with Buddhist texts. Return to foundational Buddhist texts such as the Dhammapada, the Heart Sutra, and the teachings of beloved masters like Thich Nhat Hanh and Pema Chodron. Each reading reveals new layers of meaning as your practice evolves. Consider joining a study group or finding a teacher to guide your learning. Exploring interfaith wisdom. Compassion is a universal value shared across spiritual traditions. Explore teachings from Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and other paths. Notice the common threads and unique insights each offers. This broadens your perspective and enriches your practice. Learning from diverse voices. Seek out the stories and wisdom of people from different backgrounds, cultures, and life experiences. Podcasts, books, and documentaries can introduce you to perspectives you might not encounter in your daily life. These voices remind us that compassion looks different in different contexts, but is always rooted in a shared humanity. Navigating challenges to sustained compassion. No journey is without obstacles. Sustaining compassion over a lifetime requires strategies for navigating challenges such as burnout, discouragement, and changing circumstances. Recognizing and recovering from burnout. Even with the best intentions, burnout can creep in. Signs include chronic fatigue, cynicism, and a sense of detachment from your practice. When you notice these symptoms, pause and retreat. Take time away from your usual helping activities to recharge. Reevaluate your balance. Assess whether you've leaned too far towards self-sacrifice. Reintroduce self-compassion practices. Seek support. Connect with your community or a mentor who can offer guidance and encouragement. Maintaining motivation through discouragement. There will be days when progress feels slow or setbacks seem overwhelming. During these times, reconnect with your why. Remember what first inspired you to cultivate compassion. Reflect on how it has positively impacted your life and the lives of others. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge even tiny acts of compassion and balance. These moments fuel your motivation. Reframe setbacks as learning opportunities. Instead of viewing mistakes as failures, see them as valuable lessons that guide your growth. Adapting to life transitions. Major life changes, career shifts, relocation, illness, or the loss of loved ones can disrupt your compassion practice. Approach these transitions with flexibility. Adjust your expectations. Recognize that your practice may look different during challenging periods. Be gentle with yourself. Find new routines. Adapt your rituals to fit your current circumstances. Even brief practices can maintain continuity. Lean on your community. Share your struggles with your Sangha. They can offer support and new perspectives. Refining your practice through self-reflection. Regular self-reflection is essential for sustaining compassion. It allows you to assess your progress, identify areas for growth, and align your practice with your evolving understanding. Journaling as a mirror. Maintain a journal to document your journey. Write about moments when compassion felt effortless and times when it eluded you. Notice patterns and themes. Ask yourself, what triggers my compassion? What dampens it? How has my understanding of compassion changed over time? What aspects of my practice need more attention? Seeking feedback. Invite trusted friends, family members, or Sangha members to share their observations of your compassion practice. Their perspectives can reveal blind spots and affirm your growth. Formal retreats. Consider periodically attending meditation or compassion-focused retreats. These immersive experiences provide extended time for reflection, deepening your practice and reconnecting you with your intentions. The transformative power of aging with compassion. As we age, our practice of compassion can become even more profound. With the wisdom that comes with years of experience, we can approach life with greater equanimity and understanding. Embracing the wisdom of experience. Years of practicing compassion grant you unique insights. You've weathered storms and emerged with a deeper understanding of what sustains and what depletes. Share this wisdom with younger practitioners, mentoring them and passing on valuable lessons. Adapting to physical and mental changes. Aging often brings physical limitations and shifts in mental energy. Adapt your compassion practice to accommodate these changes. For example, if long meditation sessions become difficult, transition to shorter, more frequent sessions, or try walking meditation. Legacy building. Consider how your compassion practice can leave a lasting impact. This might involve creating a scholarship, volunteering with youth, or documenting your journey through writing or teaching. Your legacy becomes a gift that continues to inspire compassion in future generations. Conclusion. The ever-unfolding path. Sustaining compassion over a lifetime isn't about achieving a fixed state of perfection. It's about committing to a path of continual growth, adaptation, and renewal. Each day offers new opportunities to practice compassion in its many forms toward yourself, your loved ones, your community, and the broader world. As you journey forward, remember that compassion thrives in the soil of patience and persistence. It deepens through both success and failure, learning and unlearning. By embracing this lifelong practice, you become not just a practitioner of compassion, but a living testament to its transformative power. The road ahead may wind through unknown terrain, but with each step, you're contributing to a world where compassion is cherished and cultivated. May your practice continue to flourish, touching your life and the lives of countless others with its gentle, persistent light. 6. Teaching compassion. Passing on the gift to future generations. Having journeyed through the inner work of self-compassion, the outward expansion of balanced helping, and the lifelong commitment to sustaining compassion, we arrive at the final frontier of this teaching, sharing the gift of compassion with others. This isn't merely about imparting information, it's about passing on a living practice that transforms lives. When we teach compassion, we create ripples that extend far beyond our immediate sphere, touching future generations and shaping a world where kindness and understanding flourish. This section explores how to become an effective teacher of compassion, whether formally or informally, ensuring that this wisdom continues to grow and evolve. The call to share your wisdom. After years of practicing compassion, you've accumulated invaluable insights. The world needs these lessons. Teaching isn't about having all the answers. It's about sharing your authentic experience, your struggles, growth, and hard-earned wisdom. Every person's journey is unique, and yours holds the potential to inspire and guide others. Becoming a compassion educator. Formal teaching involves structured sharing of knowledge and practices. This might happen in homes, schools, community centers, or online platforms. Parenting with intention. Parents have a profound opportunity to embed compassion in their children's lives. This isn't about lectures, but about lived examples. When you apologize sincerely after losing patience, you show that compassion includes acknowledging mistakes. By prioritizing family time for shared meals and heart-to-heart talks, you create spaces where empathy grows naturally. Teaching in schools. Educators can weave compassion into curricula. Mindfulness exercises during morning meetings set a grounded tone for the day. Literature classes can explore characters' motivations and feelings, building students' empathy muscles. Schools might also host compassion clubs, where students lead initiatives like organizing food drives or peer mediation programs. Community workshops. Organizing workshops allows you to reach broader audiences. A workshop might begin with a personal story that illustrates compassion's impact, then guide participants through meta-meditation, followed by group discussions on applying these practices at home or work. Everyday influence. Informal teaching moments. You don't need a classroom to teach compassion. Everyday interactions are ripe with teaching potential. Leading by example. Your actions speak volumes. When a colleague is struggling with a project, rolling up your sleeves and offering hands-on help demonstrates compassion in action. In a world that often values